Hey everyone, glad to have you with us as we take another deep dive today. Today we're looking at something I know a lot of you are interested in, the idea that thoughts can actually shape reality. You know, the whole mind over matter thing.
Yeah, it's a concept that's been around for ages, but it's recently gained a lot of traction in the personal development world.
Right, and we've been getting a ton of requests from listeners to dive deeper into this. So today we're going to be focusing on Dane Spots and his program, Mind Power Secrets.
Spot's program really seems to resonate with people who are looking for practical tools to create lasting change in their lives. They're not just looking for feel-good motivation. They want the nuts and bolts of how to actually shift their beliefs and create the reality they want.
Absolutely, and that's what we're here to explore today. So let's get right to it. Spot starts by really emphasizing just how powerful our subconscious beliefs are. He says that our beliefs are like the operating system of our lives. They determine how we see the world, how we interact with others, and ultimately what we create.
It's kind of like the foundation of a house,
Yeah.
If the foundation is weak, the whole structure is unstable.
That's a great analogy. And Spot tells this really interesting story about a real estate entrepreneur who was broke but decided to fake it till he made it. This guy actually started acting as if he was already wealthy, even though he had very little money to his name.
Wait, really?
Yeah. He went to fancy restaurants dressed in sharp suits. He even rented a luxury car. And you know what? Things started changing for him. He started making connections, meeting the right people, and eventually landing big deals. It's almost as if by changing his outward behavior, he actually shifted something within himself.
It's a classic example of self-fulfilling prophecy.
Okay.
You start acting as if something is already true, and eventually it becomes true.
Exactly. It's like you're sending a message to your subconscious mind saying, this is who I am. And your subconscious, being the obedient servant that it is, starts working to align your reality with that belief.
That's really powerful. So it's not just about thinking positive thoughts, it's about embodying the beliefs you want to create.
That's a key distinction. Spot says that simply thinking positive thoughts isn't enough to create lasting change because our thoughts only address the conscious mind. But it's the subconscious mind where our deepest beliefs and habits reside that really drives our actions.
So it's like trying to change the direction of a river by simply splashing water on the surface. You need to get down to the source, to the underlying currents, to create real and lasting change.
I see what you mean. And that's where things can get a bit tricky, right? How do we actually access and reprogram those deep-seated subconscious beliefs?
Well, that's what we're going to find out next. Spots has developed a technique called visioneering, which he claims can help us do just that. Stay tuned, and we'll dive into that right after the break. All right, so we're back and ready to unpack this visioneering technique that Spots talks about.
Yeah, it sounds pretty intriguing. From what I understand, it's a three-step process for basically rewiring those deep-seated beliefs we were just talking about.
Right, and the first step is all about inducing something called an alpha state.
An alpha state, what exactly is that?
It's a state of deep relaxation where your brainwave activity slows down and your subconscious mind becomes more receptive to suggestion.
Okay, so it's like a mental state where you're more open to change.
Exactly. And Spots says you can actually induce this alpha state in just 45 seconds using a simple breathing exercise.
45 seconds? That seems almost too good to be true. How does that even work?
Well, it involves closing your eyes, rolling them upwards slightly, and focusing on your breath. As you do this, your brainwave activity naturally slows down and you enter a state of deep calm.
Huh, interesting. So it's kind of like a mini meditation?
Yeah, you could say that. It's about shifting your focus inward and creating a space where you can connect with your subconscious mind.
Okay, so once you're in this alpha state, what's next?
That's where things get really interesting.
Hmm.
Step 2 is all about what Spots calls recreating a winning feeling. He says you need to recall a vivid memory where you felt incredibly happy and successful. It could be anything like landing your dream job, graduating from college, receiving an award, anything that evokes those feelings of triumph and accomplishment.
So you're basically tapping into a past experience where you felt really good about yourself.
Exactly. And the idea is that by reliving those positive emotions, you're anchoring them to your future goals. It's like you're training your brain to associate those good vibes with the outcomes you desire.
I see. So you're creating a positive emotional connection to your goals, making them feel more attainable.
Yeah, exactly. It's like setting the stage for success by infusing your goals with those feelings of excitement, confidence, and joy.
Okay, I like it. So you're in this relaxed alpha state. You've tapped into a winning feeling, and now what's the final step?
Step 3 is where the real magic happens. This is where you actually visualize the future goal you want to achieve.
Okay, so this is where you actually start picturing your desired outcome.
Exactly. And Spots emphasizes the importance of making your visualization as vivid and sensory-rich as possible. He wants you to see it, feel it, hear it, even smell it. The more real you can make it in your mind's eye, the more powerful the technique will be.
So if your goal is financial abundance, for example, you might visualize yourself surrounded by money stacks of cash, a fat bank account, you name it.
Right. And you wouldn't just see it, you'd feel the weight of the money in your hands, smell the crispness of the bills, hear the sound of coins jingling.
Wow, that's pretty intense. But does it actually work? Can simply visualizing something really make it happen?
That's a great question, and it's one that a lot of people ask.
Yeah, I mean, some folks might be thinking this is all just wishful thinking.
Right. But here's the thing. There's actually a growing body of scientific evidence to support the power of visualization.
Really?
Yeah. Athletes use visualization all the time to improve their performance, and studies have shown that it can actually lead to measurable improvements. Surgeons use visualization to rehearse complex procedures, and it's been shown to reduce errors and improve outcomes. And business leaders use visualization to strategize and plan for the future.
So it's not just some new age woo-woo stuff.
Not at all. It's a powerful tool that's being used by people in all walks of life to achieve their goals.
So by repeatedly visualizing our goals, we're essentially programming our subconscious mind to work towards their realization.
Right. It's like creating a mental blueprint for the life you want to build. And the more you focus on that blueprint, the more likely it is to manifest in your physical world.
It's fascinating how our minds can actually shape our reality in such tangible ways.
It really is.
Yeah.
And Spots doesn't just stop at visualization. He also emphasizes the importance of letting go.
Letting go. What do you mean by that?
Well, after you've spent time visualizing your goal, he says it's important to release it, to surrender it to the universe.
Huh, that sounds a bit counterintuitive. Why would you let go of something you've worked so hard to visualize?
Because Spot says that when we cling too tightly to our goals, or want them too desperately, we can actually block their manifestation.
So it's like the old saying, if you love something, set it free.
Yeah, kind of. It's about finding that sweet spot between focused intention and surrender. It's about trusting that the universe has a plan for you and that things will unfold in the right way at the right time.
So it's about taking action, but also having faith in the process.
Exactly. And Spots warns against something he calls the choke syndrome, which is when we want something so badly that we end up sabotaging ourselves.
So it's like that feeling of pressure we put on ourselves when we feel like we have to succeed.
Right. And that pressure can lead to anxiety, fear, and self-doubt, which can actually make it harder to achieve our goals.
So it's about releasing that pressure and trusting that things will work out in the end.
Exactly. And this is where Spots introduces another interesting concept, the guilt of happiness.
The guilt of happiness. What do you mean by that?
Well, Spots suggests that many of us harbor unconscious guilt about being happy. We've been conditioned to believe that happiness is something we need to earn or deserve, not something we can simply choose.
I see what you mean. It's like we feel guilty for enjoying ourselves if we haven't suffered enough or paid our dues.
Right. And this guilt can actually prevent us from experiencing true and lasting happiness. It's like we're subconsciously sabotaging ourselves because we don't feel worthy of feeling good.
So how do we overcome this guilt and give ourselves permission to be happy?
Spots emphasizes the importance of becoming aware of these limiting beliefs and actively challenging them. He encourages us to question the idea that happiness is something we need to earn and to embrace the radical notion that happiness is our birthright. We are worthy of happiness simply because we exist.
That's a really powerful message. I think a lot of people need to hear that.
Me too. And to help us cultivate lasting happiness, Spots offers 3 key components that we can all incorporate into our lives.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are those 3 components?
First, he says we need to learn to control our reactions.
Control our reactions. What exactly does that mean?
It means that instead of letting external events dictate our emotional state, we can choose how we respond, even to challenging situations.
So it's about not letting our emotions run wild.
Exactly. Instead of reacting impulsively or letting negativity take over, we can pause, take a breath, and choose a more constructive response.
So it's about being more mindful of our thoughts and emotions.
Right. And it's not about suppressing our emotions. It's about managing them in a way that empowers us rather than disempowers us.
I see. So it's about taking back control of our inner world.
Exactly. And Spots uses the example of a salesperson who loses a big deal. Instead of letting the disappointment spiral into negativity, he suggests reframing the situation as a learning opportunity.
So it's about turning setbacks into opportunities for growth.
Right. Instead of seeing failure as a sign of weakness, we can choose to see it as a valuable feedback mechanism that can help us learn and improve.
It's like the old saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Exactly. And Spot's second key to cultivating happiness is all about living in the present moment.
Mindfulness. I've been hearing a lot about that lately. It seems to be all the rage these days.
And for good reason. Mindfulness is about being fully present and engaged in whatever we're doing without getting caught up in worries about the past or anxieties about the future.
So it's about savoring the moment.
Exactly. And Spots emphasizes the importance of finding joy in the simple things. The beauty of nature, the warmth of the sun on our skin, the laughter of loved ones.
It's about appreciating those little things that we often take for granted.
Right. And this ties back to Spot's point about controlling our reactions. When we're present in the moment, we're less likely to get swept away by negative thoughts and emotions.
So it's like we're creating a mental buffer against stress and negativity.
Exactly. And this buffer allows us to approach challenges with greater resilience and grace. We're not denying the reality of the situation, but we're also not letting it define our overall sense of well-being.
So it's about finding that balance between acknowledging the tough stuff and choosing to focus on the good stuff.
Right. And Spot's third key to happiness is perhaps the most radical of all. He says we need to make happiness a conscious choice.
A conscious choice. So it's not just something that happens to us, it's something we actively choose.
Exactly. Instead of waiting for external circumstances to make us happy, we can choose to be happy right now, regardless of our situation.
Wow, that's a pretty bold statement. But how do you actually choose to be happy, especially when things are tough?
It's not about denying our problems or pretending everything is perfect.
Yeah.
It's about cultivating an inner sense of peace and contentment that allows us to navigate challenges with greater resilience and grace.
So it's about shifting our perspective from why is this happening to me to what can I learn from this?
Exactly. And this shift in perspective can make all the difference in how we experience life's inevitable challenges. It's about recognizing that happiness is not a destination, it's a journey.
I like that. It's not about arriving at some mythical place where everything is perfect. It's about choosing to find joy and fulfillment in the present moment, no matter what.
Right. And Spots emphasizes that this choice to be happy is something we need to make every single day. It's a conscious practice, not a one-time decision.
So it's like building a muscle. The more we practice choosing happiness, the stronger that muscle becomes.
Exactly. And the good news is that there are many practical things we can do to cultivate happiness in our lives. Spots suggest practices like gratitude journaling, spending time in nature, connecting with loved ones, and pursuing our passions.
It's about making time for the things that bring us joy and make us feel alive.
Absolutely. And by making happiness a priority, we create a positive feedback loop. The more we focus on the good things in our lives, the more good things we attract.
It's like the law of attraction in action.
Exactly. And Spots believes that happiness is contagious. When we're happy, we radiate positivity and inspire others to be happy too.
So it's not just about personal fulfillment, it's about creating a ripple effect of happiness in the world.
Exactly. And Spots concludes his program by reminding us that we are the creators of our own reality.
We have the power to choose our thoughts, our beliefs, and our actions, and those choices ultimately shape our destiny.
It's an inspiring message of hope and empowerment. And it all starts with that simple but profound idea that what we believe determines what we make true. It's a lot to take in, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here, but I think Spots does a really good job of breaking down these complex concepts into bite-sized pieces.
Right. And he offers practical tools and techniques that we can all use to start applying these principles in our own lives.
And one thing that really stood out to me was his emphasis on the power of belief. He says that our beliefs are like seeds that we plant in our minds, and those seeds will eventually grow into the reality we experience.
It's a powerful metaphor, isn't it?
Right.
And it really highlights the importance of being mindful of the thoughts and beliefs we're cultivating.
Right. It's not enough to just think positive thoughts every now and then. We need to consistently feed our minds with positive input through books, podcasts, conversations with inspiring people, you name it.
It's about creating an environment that supports our growth and helps us to embody those beliefs that we want to manifest.
Spots really hammers home that idea of our minds being like computers. If we put garbage in, we're going to get garbage out.
Yep. Makes you think twice about what you're consuming, doesn't it? Not just in terms of food, but also in terms of information and media.
Absolutely. We need to be more discerning about what we allow into our mental space because it all has an impact, whether we realize it or not.
Spots also talks about the importance of taking action.
Mm.
He says that visualization is a powerful tool, but it's not enough to just sit around and daydream about our goals.
Hmm.
We need to get out there and take concrete steps to make them happen.
It's about putting those beliefs into practice, right?
Yeah.
Turning those visions into reality.
Exactly. And Spots emphasizes that action doesn't have to be massive or overwhelming. It can start with small, consistent steps.
One of Spot's quotes that stuck with me was, "Don't think, don't try, just do."
I love that. It's such a powerful reminder that sometimes the best way to overcome our fears and doubts is to just dive in and take that first step.
And even if we stumble or make mistakes, it's all part of the learning process, right?
Exactly. As Spot says, there is no failure, only feedback.
And I think that's a really important message to remember, especially when we're trying to create lasting change in our lives. We're going to face challenges, we're going to make mistakes, but it's how we respond to those setbacks that ultimately determines our success.
Resilience is key, when you say.
Absolutely. It's about having the courage to get back up, dust ourselves off, and keep moving forward.
And remembering that we don't have to do it alone,
Hmm.
right? There's so much support available to us, whether it's from friends, family, mentors, or even online communities.
We just have to be willing to ask for help when we need it.
Exactly. There's strength in vulnerability.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into Dane Spot's mind power secrets, what are some key takeaways that our listeners can start applying in their own lives today?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that we have far more power over our reality than we often realize. Our thoughts, our beliefs, and our actions all play a role in shaping our experiences.
It's about recognizing that we are not victims of our circumstances. We have the agency to create the life we desire.
Absolutely. And it all starts with becoming aware of those limiting beliefs that might be holding us back. Once we identify those beliefs, we can start to challenge them and replace them with more empowering ones.
And Spots offers a range of practical tools and techniques to help us do just that, from visualization to gratitude journaling to mindfulness practices.
It's about finding what works best for us and incorporating those practices into our daily lives.
And remembering that it's a journey, not a destination. There's no magic bullet, but with consistent effort and a willingness to embrace the process, we can create lasting change and unlock a level of happiness and fulfillment we never thought possible.
Spots reminds us to ask ourselves, if our beliefs truly shape our reality, what beliefs will you choose to empower you today?
That's a great question to ponder. And on that note, we'd like to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the power of the mind. We hope you've gained some valuable insights that you can start applying in your own life.
Remember, you have the power to create the reality you desire. Start believing it, and you'll start seeing it.